How did the Africans experience the Middle Passage? Middle Passage, a voyage that began and ended in Europe. They would go days, weeks, even months waiting in slave factories scattered along Africa's western coast. Around 20 million were taken from their homes and sold into slavery. About half died along the journey. The first part of the voyage carried a cargo that often included iron, firearms, clothes, and gunpowder. Once it landed on Africa's slave coast, it was then exchanged for Africans. Fully loaded, then taken to the Americas, and they were then exchanged for sugar, tobacco, and many other products. They were lied to. They were told they were going to work in the fields. This is a visual representation of the cargo that carried the slaves. The ships were made to fit as many people as possible, tight spaces with no space in between. The men were considered dangerous. They were shackled together in pairs using leg irons. The Middle Passage was important because it was one of the worst things that European cultures had ever done, as well as African cultures, many which eagerly collaborated in the trade and grew wealthy selling weaker neighboring peoples into chains. It was the center point of the triangular trade that exchanged European goods for slaves, then sold the slaves to the colonies for raw materials to take back to Europe to make more goods to trade. It also brought a cheap labor force, in the form of slaves, to the New World, which made raw materials cheaper in Europe and bolstered trade around the world. It was as well responsible for the deaths of millions of Africans and the enslavement of millions more. Middle Passage took place during the mid 1400s to the mid 1700s. The voyage took 3 to 4 months, allowing over 12 million slaves to be brought to the Americas to be forced to work on farms, sugar plantations, and help to cultivate the New World through forced labor. Without the forced labor and the cultivation of the abundance of resources which the Americas possess, colonization would have taken much longer, and we would probably not have ended up in modern Americas, which we recognize today. The Middle Passage also allowed for the bonding of different African peoples due to the diaspora, which helped form the kinships and relations between peoples today. Without the Middle Passage, much of America will be different today.